If you have any questions about the weekend, please dump them down into the comment section. I'm going to get to them on Saturday evening, then again on Sunday morning before 10 a.m. Eastern time. If you're looking to check back, you need something to bounce it off with, I'll be active in that comment section. I'm going to try to do that all year long. So please, you smash a like, you sub to the channel, you leave your question, and boom, we are off to the races.
You're entering the Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
This is the Week 2 NFL Cheat Sheet. I'm Pat Mayo. We're going to be covering fantasy rankings, injuries at each position that matters to you in the betting world and in fantasy. If you want a cheat sheet of everything that's going on in the show, highly suggest that you subscribe to the Mayo Media newsletter. It's completely free. It's down in the description. Or if you just want to Google it, Substack, Mayo Media, you're going to find it up there. I'll also have it as a pinned post up on my X account at VPME as well. Want to remind all of you to smash the like to this episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, turn those notifications on as well, because we're going live on Sunday evening just before Sunday Night Football, in between those games, to recap the week, make some picks, have some fun. Our main man, Paul Shaughnessy, is going to be in studio with us. That's me and Cuss going over everything. It's a very fun show. Got to be a sub to get into the chat, but a lot of people in there. You can converse back and forth as we recap the day and look ahead. Also, coming up in this show, we got props, underdog pick'em plays, additionally, an updated DraftKings ownership, plus some pivot plays. Again, all of that will be available and updated again in the newsletter this evening. If you're looking for the fantasy position ranking list, again, down in the description, that's already updated. So let's jump into that. At running back to kick things off, Quinshon Judkins has his issues. He is signed. He's been practicing in full. He is now expected in. So I did put him into the rankings. So I had to bump down Dylan Sampson, who I still do have ahead of him for half-point PPR. I have Sampson down at number 25. That's behind the likes of Kenneth Walker, Trayvon Henderson. That's still ahead of Jordan Mason and Tyler Warren in this particular game script. I'm going off what we saw last week. You don't just end up with that many targets in a game out of the backfield, Dylan Sampson that is, over someone like Jerome Ford, who was already known as the Cleveland pass-catching running back. He just usurped him immediately off the hop. I would expect Cleveland to be trying to do its damage through the air rather than on the ground, where I would expect Judkins to come in, I wouldn't say completely full speed, but at least probably get the plurality of touches out of the backfield in terms of the ground through the air. I'd still be looking at Dylan Sampson after his 1 week sample. Could be completely wrong on that, but that's how I would play it. Judkins, I have at number 38. That's behind Zach Charbonnet, Isaiah Pacheco, Kenneth Gainwell. They're all just slightly ahead of him in the rankings. Najee Harris and Ramondre would be just behind him, because there always is that out that we saw Sanders end up rushing it in from the 1 yard line. Maybe those touches go to Judkins this week. Maybe he does handle the between the 20s and on the ground against the Ravens. And maybe the Browns keep it close. Maybe I'm just way off in that game. Now, as a double-digit favorite, I would expect more passing, hence why I like Sampson a little bit more than I like Judkins at this spot. Roschon Johnson missed Monday Night Football with a foot injury. It looks like he is going to be in this week, running as the primary backup to DeAndre Swift against the Lions. Will Shipley is out for the Eagles against Kansas City. A lot of Saquon. Should be no surprise on that front, but we might see Tank Bigsby end up now with his first game with the team as the primary backup. We have to wait and see with that at the moment, though. Jalen Wright for the Dolphins is leaning out again. Ollie Gordon might get some run, but it's A-chain or bust in that backfield. And with the way that Dolphins offense is looking, not good, by the way, is probably where you're going to want to go. At wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson is likely in with his ankle injury. He did practice in a limited capacity on Friday. Slayton and Neighbors good to go in that as well. London and Mooney for the Falcons, both in for Sunday Night Football. Drake London is number 8 in the rankings, half-point PPR. At wide receiver, Darnell Mooney is number 39 in those rankings. Juwan Jennings is an iffy one right now. He's still dealing with this left shoulder injury. He practiced in a limited capacity on Friday, but we don't know how much he actually practiced. So he is questionable. I still think that he's going to give it a go. I don't know how close to 100% he's going to be. I left him out of my rankings because you say Mac Jones starting at quarterback. Ricky Bullets is going to be the guy who's going to be the primary pass catcher here. It'd be nice to have Jennings around. And if Jennings doesn't go, you're looking at some amalgamation of Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, and the recently re-signed Kendrick Bourne, who is very familiar, previously being on the 49ers before going to the Patriots and now leaving the team with this Kyle Shanahan offense. I'd probably like Bourne the best of all of these guys if Jennings cannot go. Maybe, I wouldn't like him like, you got to play him. I'd like him as, if I desperately need a fill-in between those three guys, I'd go with Kendrick Bourne. Xavier Worthy looks like he is going to be out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Christian Kirk is likely out for the Texans with that hamstring injury. Jake Bobo is back from his concussion for Seattle in Pittsburgh this week. Josh Reynolds is out for the Jets against the Bills. No word yet on whether Allen Lazard will be activated. I'm guessing he will with Reynolds being out. Jalen Royals is out for the Chiefs as well. So the way that I have the breakdown right now for the Chiefs receiving core, I have Hollywood Brown at number 30, Juju at number 33, and Tyquan Thornton at number 47 for that receiving core in a game, which we'll get to a little bit later on, that I do like a lot of the passing attack in this game. I just have no idea where it's going to go. We saw a lot of Hollywood 10 days ago on the Friday night in Brazil, but I don't know if that was circumstantial, mainly because they lost Worthy in that game, and this is what they had to pivot to. A lot of low A-dot routes for Hollywood Brown in that game. Tyquan, I do think, is going to be the deep shot. He's going to get his chances down the field. How many is he going to convert on those? No idea how that one's going to go. I do like him as we get to the underdog picks a little bit later on for longest reception. Now, if he can pull in like 3 of those, he's probably going to be the best of the bunch, but he's not going to be the reliable option in that offense. Big boom, big bust is what I see from Tyquan Thornton in this Chiefs offense, especially against Philly, but he will be playing on the outside. And we did see Adoree Jackson try to track guys down the field to very little success last Thursday night against the Cowboys. So maybe Thornton can exploit that. He's not good enough to get safety help over the top. I don't think that's how the Eagles are going to end up playing him. So it could just be some one-on-ones. Maybe it's a big grabber too. Maybe you like the over. I like the over longest reception. But again, we'll get to that in a minute. You can always jump around in the time codes to get to what you want. At tight end, Brock Bowers is probably not going to play on Monday Night Football. Now, he is the best player at the position because George Kittle is out 3 to 5 weeks. So it's between Bowers and McBride of who's going to be the best. Great news if you drafted Trey McBride this season, as he is one of the 3 big wide receivers that everyone splurged on, that is currently healthy into week 2. You got none of these injuries at running back so far. Every other position, well, tight end and wide receivers getting decimated, it seems like right now, with a lot of questionable, a lot of guys missing here and there. So George Kittle is out 3 to 5 weeks. Bowers looks like he's not going to go, but you do need to wait for him unless he is somehow ruled officially out after I finish this recording. There is a practice for those guys later on Saturday afternoon. I'm recording this early Saturday afternoon, so I do not have that information as of yet. I would hold out for him. The move is just pick up Michael Mayer. If Bowers ends up out, you just go 1v1 sub, put him in. I don't love Mayer this week, but if it means holding on to Brock Bowers and maybe getting him active in that game. Now, if you're just completely petrified of it and you don't think that even if he plays, he'll be on limited snaps, he's not going to be effective, completely understand that. There's different ways that you can go on Sunday if you want to make that decision now. I personally would hold out for Bowers because I don't think that Mayer is that bad of an option should Bowers end up sitting, but that's the move that you need to take to make sure that you have someone as a replacement on Monday Night Football in the latest game against the Chargers. George Kittle, as mentioned, is out 3 to 5 weeks. You got Speaking in Tongs and Luke Farrell coming in behind him. Neither of them are great options. Tongs is probably the worst of the replacement guys this week. Dallas Goedert is out for the Eagles. Grant Calcaterra will be filling in for him. We've seen this before. More on those rankings in a second. Isaiah Likely is going to be out for the Ravens with a foot injury. Darren Waller will not make a season debut. If he comes back at all for the Dolphins, he's out. Evan Ingram is in for the Broncos. So for the backups, and again, you can access the entire rankings list, which I will have updated again on Sunday morning, should anything happen in those games. I got Mayer at number 12, Calcaterra at 14, Tongs at 20. And if there's just someone you're looking to pick up, it would be Juwan Jennings. I have him at number 7 in the rankings this week for the Saints against the 49ers. Brock Purdy is out multiple weeks. Mac Jones is starting. Probably don't want to start him. And then we had 2 big injuries from Thursday Night Football. You have Austin Eckler, who is out for the season. That's probably a big tick up for Bill Krosky going forward for your average going back and forth on the backfield. But here's the thing. You do have Jeremy McNichols. You do have Chris Rodriguez. I'm guessing that you're probably going to see a 60, 70% snap share for Bill moving forward. But the receptions are really the thing that you're looking to replace for Austin Eckler. And where is that going to go in that offense? We didn't really see much of anyone do that after Eckler left the game against the Packers. Now, maybe that was schematically, but they had to pass, trying to come back that entire time. It's not like Bill was just piling up receptions. He wasn't. Most of those short passes were funneled to Deebo Samuel. We've seen that twice when passing in the fourth quarter each of the past 2 weeks for Washington. If you're trying to figure out who the pass catching back is going to be in Washington, the answer might actually be Deebo Samuel. Not that he'll line up in the backfield, but they'll run him in motion, and those short little quick out to the flats are going to end up going to Deebo. Maybe it ends up being Bill. Maybe it's McNichols. Who knows? But I would put more faith into trying to predict that out, that it's going to be Deebo Samuel in that spot. The other thing that you can look at in this circumstance is on the other side of the ball, Jaden Reed is now going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with this collarbone injury. At least I'll give him time to rest his Jones fracture in his foot as well. Bad news, and it doesn't seem like it's going to consolidate much in that Green Bay offense, which looks like it really does want to pass a ton. So it seems like Savion Williams and Matthew Golden are going to get those end-around short rushing attempts out of the backfield that usually went to Jaden Reed. Now, there's different guys in that offense. Williams really isn't doing much in the passing game, but they do like to use him on these jet sweeps out of the backfield, and you're probably going to see that more so. So prop-wise, not necessarily fantasy-wise, but prop-wise going forward, if they do set his over-under at like 0.5, 1.5, at least for the next few weeks, because no one knows who Savion Williams is, that might be a nice spot to exploit, because it does seem like he's going to get 1 or 2 chances a game to do these jet sweeps out of the backfield for the Packers. And with the way that they're rolling right now offensively, they can run a ton of misdirection. It's a great move on their part. Great scheming by Matthew LaFleur on offense in order to get him involved and just shake it up a little bit more. Matthew Golden is seeing those as well. In the passing game, obviously Tucker Kraft went absolutely off in that spot, and he's probably going to continue to do that. Top 5 tight end moving forward? Probably. But in the receiving game, where do these targets go? We saw Malik Heath get himself back involved. Dontavian Wicks ended up with 6 catches in the game. I mean, that's a nice spot to be in for him, but it was a lot of short outs. He wasn't the guy being utilized deep down the field. So maybe as a fringe flex play in deeper leagues. Frankly, the 2 guys that I want in this offense are going to be the 2 guys that I wanted to begin with anyway. It's just they get a little bit more of a boost. The Matthew Golden big game is coming. They're actively looking for him downfield. They're actively getting him touches in spots where those usually went to Jaden Reed. So you can boost him up a little bit. And Dobbs just continues to be the guy that they want to use near the goal line. Like touchdown. If you're picking one guy to lead this team in receiving touchdowns, it's got to be Romeo Dobbs in this spot. He is a preferred preference of Jordan Love once they get inside the red zone. So that's where I would end up looking on that front. Again, all of the rankings are updated down in the description. The link is there. There's also, if you click under articles on the PME, you will find them updated for Sunday morning as well. Once I wake up, get around to the latest information should anything change. But as of right now, these are going to be the final rankings. All of that linked in the Saturday evening newsletter as well, if you're just looking for a handy way to do it. But hey, just hit the description. The free link is down there. You can go check them out right now. All right, coming up with props, bets, Underdog, and DraftKings, all right after this. For over a century, Johnnie Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereux Golf, Johnnie Walker introduces the Johnnie Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnniewalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/PatMayo and get on your way to being your best self. Sometimes we turn to some funny places for support, but not everyone's a therapist. Not everyone is the one. Find your right match with BetterHelp. What you need to do is actually talk to a quality therapist, and BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the United States. It's also completely online. You can pause your subscription whenever you need to and switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo. Now that I'm old, I've had to come to the fact that I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. I don't wake up in the morning feeling normal. And now that football season has started, that is absolutely unacceptable because I got work to do in the morning and I got kids that are waking up. It's no good. But that isn't a problem anymore because I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. The ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol the first drink of your night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel the best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/PatMayo to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use PatMayo at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use the code PatMayo at checkout for 15% off. Let's jump into the props for the week. My single favorite one that I want to go after isn't listed anywhere as of yet. It's the Goon, Dare Agagunawale for the Texans, is going to be a pass-catching fiend against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers cannot track anyone out of the backfield. Be like, hey, this is a great spot for Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb doesn't catch passes. They did try to throw to him once last week against the Rams, and his over-under is set at 0.5 yards. I think it's 0.5 catches as well, and that is juiced to the under. So if you did want to take the over on that and hope to get lucky, I think that Dare would be the preferable play. I'm guessing that his reception total will be set at like 0.5, and I think that his over-under will be set at 1.5. I just can't find it anywhere. I'm getting my good friends at coolbet.com to make that number for me. So when you check out PMA exclusives at coolbet.com a little bit later on in the afternoon on Saturday or early on Sunday morning, you're going to see a 2-player parlay that's boosted up. In player props, it's going to be the Goon over receptions and Hunter Renfrow over 3.5 receptions. Another spot where Arizona is just really bad at tracking players over the middle of the field. When we saw where those targets were funneled last week, there was a lot of Tet McMillan against the Jags, but it was Renfrow over the middle of the field where he was running the majority of his routes, easy completions, which Bryce Young is going to need in this spot. But again, as 7-point favorites, or as 7-point underdogs, expect a lot of passing in that game, easy completions for Hunter Renfrow. Hopefully he can get to that number, and that will be boosted up on coolbet.com. If you are in Canada outside of Ontario, like myself, then you can go hit the description right now, get yourself a deposit bonus, and get on Coolbet. They are partners of this show for our sports book, and they have some of the fastest payouts in the world should you win. Hey, listen, you don't always win, but you can get yourself some nice boosts over there and that deposit bonus. Check it out down in the description right now. I'm going to jump over to the SharpStack app, which is powered by 4for4. You can get a 7-day trial at SharpStack right now if you go to 4for4.com/Mayo. You get a free week, and then you get 25% off after that. And if you get the SharpStack program, then you are going to get everything involved with 4for4. Season-long fantasy, DFS, the betting stuff, the Discord, it's all included under the SharpStack app. So I highly would recommend you check it out. Great success so far over the first week of the season across all sports, because you can get all sports when you're going through. If you like college football, you want to do some midweek WNBA, it's all there for you on SharpStack. Right now, the thing that it really likes is the under of Jonathan Taylor receiving yards. 14.5 is the highest EV bet. Now, more bets are going to come out as we get deeper in to Saturday and then again on Sunday morning, that just more markets are going to be released, and you can put that up whatever you want to do. You can do game lines, you can select everything, you can do first half if you want to see where the biggest EV is. Now, I actually bet this one last week. It ended up being a loser on Jonathan Taylor. I took the under the 2.5 receptions, and they used him out of the backfield a lot in that game. So maybe listen, the computer knows better than I do by and large, and the way that you want to do these, listen, I get suckered into parlaying everything together. This is what what happened to me last week. Even on Thursday Night Football, I said I wasn't going to do it again. What happened? I made a 3-banger, a 5-banger, and a 7-leg parlay, and I had Jaden Daniels rushing yards over attached to all of those. So I went 2 for 3, 4 for 5, 6 for 7. If I just bet them individually, I'd be up a ton of money. But of course, I'm an idiot and didn't do that. So I ended up losing all of my money and getting wiped off the board. So if this is something you want to do, you can go for it. AJ Barner is a very interesting one here. One of the higher rated plays, minus 115 at Hard Rock right now, under 21.5 yards is what you're looking at for him. James Conner receiving yards. And I think that logically, this one makes a ton of sense to me. We're thinking about James Conner under 16.5 receiving yards in this spot, only because it just takes one little flick to get in. He breaks one tackle and he's got a 20-yard reception and you lose your bet. This is why you're flipping coins a lot in this sense. But when you think through this one logically of why the under is so strong in this game is that you don't really need to throw that much against the Carolina Panthers because you can run all over them. He's already not necessarily splitting, but a 60-40 split with Trey Benson out of the backfield. We know that they can run the ball pretty effectively in this game. And if they do not fall behind, now if they do, this one's probably cooked. But if the game goes as script, as 7-point favorites, you're just not going to have to pass all that often. So why would they be doing that with James Conner in this spot? So that's a one that I really like. So we got Barner and Conner right now as two of the higher EV bets of the week. Under 21.5 receiving yards, under 16.5 receiving yards. The Josh Reynolds is still sticking up there at 28.5. It's going to hit the under because Josh Reynolds isn't playing, so that's going to be a avoided bet. Khalif Raymond is the other one to look at here. 15.5 receiving yards for the Detroit Lions against the Chicago Bears. It looks like we're getting Jalen Johnson in the secondary right now. So instead of missing most of their most productive players in the secondary, Chicago's probably only going to be missing one of them this week. And maybe Khalif Raymond was a product of the Ben Johnson offense. Now, listen, again, he is a big play guy. It just takes one in order to get you there for Khalif Raymond, but it's a spot where the vast majority of the time he's going to hit the under the 15.5 at minus 113 right now at DraftKings is the better total that you're looking at. So we can put all of these things together if we want to up at Underdog and try to do it that way. You can bet those ones individually at whatever book. Cool Bet would be my recommendation if you got the time to go do that. But let's just try to play this. See if these ones pop up. Let's see. AJ Barner for the Seahawks. Oh, there we go. Oh, we got 18.5 receiving yards. Now, that total is not as good at the 21.5 as we saw a little bit earlier. So, take that for what it's worth. You can always boost it up if you want to. It'll cost you a little bit of vig right now if you want to go lower of 24.5 for AJ Barner at 0.85. So you are paying a little bit more juice on that one, but it does inflate the total a little bit. We'll see what this all comes down to. James Conner receiving yards would be the next one at Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog, by the way, will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. There's 75% boost, 50% boost in the lobby right now. 13.5 receiving yards is what we're seeing down from the 16.5. Now you're paying minus 108 on that, and this one would be right around even money. So again, we can kind of rig that one up. I don't know if that one's too much juice for us, but hey, we're just going to try to play this one out to see what the payout will end up being. Khalif Raymond under 15.5. Wonder if we're not getting that number there as well. Raymond, not from Rain Man. We're seeing it for the Detroit Lions. And just that passing game looked awful anyway. Even if it gets better at home, he's still behind Josh Reynolds, Amon-Ra, and Laporta, and Gibbs, and Montgomery right now on the target chart. What are we seeing at 10.5 receiving yards? That's a bit too low for me. One of the other things that you can do with SharpStack as well, if that's the way that you want to go, you can go to the projection screen. You can go by wide receiver. We can try to find out what they do have Reynolds projected for. It's probably not even going to be popping up here. Let's see. Jamison Williams in that game, 55.3 receiving yards. I mean, that's okay, I suppose. We'll try to keep going down to find out. If you're not even being projected on the screen right now in terms of receiving yards, it's going to be a little bit tougher to try to have the big sell on that front. Khalif Raymond, 13.9. So the 10 is not where we want to be going unless we can boost that one up. But I don't know if they're going to allow us to do that. Let's see. Yeah, we can get to 19. So on a $1 and on a $100 entry, you're looking at almost, that's not bad actually. If you're going to go with 3 unders that are artificially juiced to the under, It's not fantastic. It's probably not the preference that I would go for this week. But if you did want to play AJ Barner under or lower, 24.5 receiving yards, James Conner 19.5 under receiving yards, and Khalif Raymond under 19.5 receiving yards. 100 will pay $293 for you. I'm going to end up playing that one, see how that one goes. But the individual bets at the sports book are likely going to be the better play for us going forward with these three particular players. And when you take a look at the Sharp Stack tool and you check out the EV calculator, that's probably how you want to play these as individuals. 4for4.com/Mayo to get that free 7-day trial plus the 25% discount. Now, I do have some ones that I've rigged up myself, and I'll probably have more on X coming out a little bit later on. If we go to live, we go to Pick'em and see what we're up to here. I got some golf ones on the go. So there's two that I built out. I mentioned these ones earlier. So let's take a look at this. I have Chase Brown, who I do really like this week, higher than 15.35 fantasy points in this game against the Jags. I just like him a lot this week. Now, whether he gets there through yardage and then a touchdown, he scores a ton. He's involved whether they're up or down for the Bengals, and they have a pretty high total in this game. So that's a spot that I really do like to go to, a 15.35 half-point PPR without bonuses fantasy points on Underdog right now. We're going to go higher on that. Kareem Hunt, higher than 1.5 receptions. I explained why a little bit earlier, but if you just skip to this part, I like the Eagles to jump out. Even though they're only 1-point favorites, I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles -1.5 this week at Kansas City. I mean, going against Mahomes as a dog at home is never preferable, but hey, this is where I'm at. I think the Eagles are just the superior team. So if they're playing catch-up mode, which is the script that I'm looking for in this game, then Kareem Hunt is going to be playing more than Pacheco. He's going to be involved in the receiving game. So we're not asking a ton for 1.5 receptions from Kareem Hunt. Now, if Kansas City jumps out to a 10-point, 14-point lead early, this is going to be a loser. That's not the way that I'm playing it. And I'm going to go with the same thing that I mentioned earlier with Tyquan Thornton, longest reception, higher than 16.5. Now, this one pays 6.63 to 1, so 100 pays $663, $10 pays $66.30. Now, if you do want to get in to this game in terms of the pick'em on Underdog, and you want to get some guaranteed money, if you sign up with code Mayo right now, you can tail this entry. I'll have this one available in the newsletter later on this evening. Just click through there. That will unlock a free pick for you this weekend as well, which you can throw on. I believe it is a $25 max or $10 max, but here are two things that you can do with that. You can play this entry, throw another one on, and you get up to like 13 to 1 on your money. And for any $5 pick'em entry that you make using code Mayo on Underdog, win or lose, they will just give you $50 of bonus fund. So a free $50. You can play this with the free pick, unlock that achievement, and then maybe try to win your money on the $10 play, which would probably end up paying like 130 to 1 off your $10 at the 13 to 1 right now. The other one that I played is in the Bills-Jets game. I feel like I have a good feel for this. Famous last words on my end, but it's structured like a same game parlay. It's 4 players, and it is a flex play, so it only needs to go 3 of 4 in order to win. I think what we're looking for in this game is a concentrated offense from the New York Jets. And I think that we're going to see that through obviously Fields on the ground, but a lot of Breece Hall on the ground. They can be successful. And especially with Josh Reynolds out, Mason Taylor a bit banged up, that it's just going to be all Garrett Wilson like it was all day. The Bills defense, not great. They're somewhat susceptible. So if we're dealing with a high degree of concentration between two players, we're going to go higher than 59.5 rushing yards for Breece Hall, who looked like Breece Hall from 2 years ago, pre-knee injury last week again. This is a softer run defense for the Bills than the Steelers. And then Garrett Wilson, he's just going to have like 12 targets in the game. You need to hope that Justin Fields is 50% accurate throwing to him, and he should get to his 60.5. On the other side of the ball, I think you're going to see a lot of intermediate routes over the middle routes for the Bills as favorites in this game. So Shakir higher than 47.5 receiving yards. Keon Coleman on the outside, probably matched up with Sauce Gardner half the time. When that's going to be happening, it's not going to be good for Keon Coleman. The big thing that you really need to avoid in this game from Keon Coleman is the broken, if you're taking the lower, like I am, of 46.5, is that you're going to have to avoid the broken play that Josh Allen has. And then all of a sudden he just ends up open, standing 70 yards down the field. And that is who Josh Allen likes to go to on those broken plays. But if they are nursing a lead here and a 6.5 point favorites, albeit on the road, that should be the way that they're going in this game, that if it's just a one-on-one with Sauce, Josh Allen's going to avoid that. And we're looking at the lower on Coleman, higher on Shakir. That's how I see this game plan going down, with the two hires on the other side. Now, as a flex entry, this pays 7.2 to 1, 3 of 4 get right. It's almost 2 to 1 on your money. If you just wanted to go YOLO and do the entire thing, I believe it comes out to 11.5 to 1 or 12 to 1 if you end up going 4 for 4. So those are my two ones that I have in right now. Obviously, we just built out the other one with Connor, AJ Burner, and Khalif Raymond, the three lowers, but those work better as solo plays at the preferred sportsbook, which you can find when you go over. You can find what site what has the best book, and you can find those too. If you just go to the prop screen, you can go game by game if you really want to find out where those individual ones lie per which stat that you're looking for. So we were looking for receiving yards in that game. We can probably find some better numbers individually if that's the way that we want to run it. So receiving yards, we saw Garrett Wilson, you got 60.5 almost everywhere. However, at FanDuel, it is 59.5. If you went to Bet Rivers, it's 62.5. So you definitely don't want to play it there. You want to play it wherever it is as low as possible. Who were the other ones? Keon Coleman, 44.5. So we had you can go 46.5 at Pinnacle right now. It is mainly 44 or 45 or 46, depending on the book where you're looking. It just make it easier on yourself to do this with the Sharp Stack app. That's where I would be looking for in all of this. Let's switch over to daily fantasy, because that's what we're looking for this week. The 4for4.com DFS optimizer. I did the show yesterday with Eric and John from 4for4 as we went through each of the games, built out some of our favorite stacks and everything that we were doing in that contest. As you can see, this is the classic optimizer. This is the new optimizer actually as provided. This comes underneath the Sharp Stack program as well. If you want to get the 4for4.com/Mayo, but you only want DFS, you can buy the DFS package. That /Mayo code Mayo will get you 25% off. You can see the higher price players in this game. What we're looking at right now in terms of, and I'll have a cheat sheet for this in the Saturday evening newsletter. If you're looking at what we're doing for projected ownership, you're going to see a lot of Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams is now leaning up there as well. Chase Brown, Devin Achane, T. Higgins, Trey McBride, Alvin Kamara. I don't love Kamara in this game. I think he's going to get a lot of work, but you need him to score a touchdown. He just does not have any breakaway ability. But if we're looking for the best values on the slate, you can see the GPP value, you can see the projected points per salary. So points per dollar players this week, Mac Jones is going to rate out really highly. And I bet you if I run the optimizer on him right now, he's probably going to end up being the one that pops out the most. I got Joe Burrow and Caleb Williams. Okay, so earlier on in the week, we were getting a lot of Mac Jones because of the price point at $4,000 that you can just kind of build a super team. But what we discovered between John, Eric, and I when we went through building lineups on the Friday show live, you can always tune in live. It's 10 a.m. Eastern time if you ever have any questions or want to ask anything or help us build it out, is that Mac Jones just might not be good enough in this game that you don't really need the savings. Like Caleb Williams isn't much money. Justin Fields isn't all that much money. If you want to cheap out at quarterback, just take a look. The projected GPP values in this game, it's not Mac Jones. It's Lamar, Burrow, and Josh Allen are all way lower in price than they normally are. So you should probably end up going with those guys. And they're the ones who are probably going to be the highest owned at quarterback: Burrow, Lamar, then it has Mac Jones, then Lawrence and Josh Allen. Makes a ton of sense to me. We built out every single game of the little mini stacks that you can do. The Lamar one is tough to do, but you can bring it back pretty cheaply, whether you want to use Fannin, Cedric Tillman, Dylan Sampson. Even if that Judkins ends up returning for that game, I still like Sampson as a cheap running back option in that spot. But the GPP values are kind of off the chart here. If we take a look at it, Lamar, Burrow, Kyler, Fields, Mac Jones are your top five. Then you're into Allen, Drake May, Caleb Williams in terms of the GPP value that you're looking out for. When we switch that over to GPP value at running back, although he is only $7,500, McCaffrey way higher than everything else. Even in points per dollar value, he ends up still the highest, based on his workload, how he scores his fantasy points. And now with all of the injuries in that game, you can fade him if you want to. So we started doing that in a few lineups, because what you can see is that although you're going to end up having, Let's see. You have Henry. Henry's not going to be very highly owned. Neither is Barkley. Barkley might be the better GPP play on this slate, but just for $100 difference, you get half the ownership. And I do think it's actually going to be less than what the projections say. That if you just bank on the Lions offense returning to not necessarily to the form that they were at home last year, but like 85% of that, Gibbs is going to annihilate the Chicago Bears. And he's $100 less than McCaffrey. Again, I end up thinking he's going to end up coming in like 1/3 of what we're looking for Jameer against McCaffrey right now. Now you can play them both and be on your way. There is enough flexibility this week that you can most definitely do that. But when I'm taking a look at it right now, Gibbs makes a lot of sense in GPPs. Maybe you play them all together. Obviously, I like Chase Brown more than I like A-Chain this week. We already kind of went over that. The big confrontation that we had on the show, and listen, it's me doing the DFS lineups with actual DFS winners and not just like random dudes like Jeff and Tim that, the heated discussions don't really get into it. But we did have one about Hubbard, Pollard, and ETN. But all three of these guys are not going to be all that low. My preference is Hubbard, then ETN, then Pollard. But each of us liked a different guy in that game. Now, I must confess that John liked Pollard the best. He is a top 10 DFS player in the world. He is a Millionaire Maker winner. You can get all of his information in his cheat sheets on 4for4.com. You can use that Mayo discount, get 25% off access to all of these tools, plus all of his content. So you probably do want to believe him over me, but I'm just not seeing Hubbard owned all that much. Like McBride's going to be a good play this week. Connor is going to be a good play this week. And Connor's just not swimming in ownership here either against the worst run defense in the NFL. That if you want to go like Connors and Hubbard going against each other for a bit of savings and pay up for one of the more expensive stacks at other positions, don't hate that. But I've been playing a lot of Tennessee defense this week because they're so cheap and they do pair up with Pollard pretty well if we're thinking about it from that front, although he projects to be the highest owned of that bunch. Breece Hall also very lowly owned. I like his higher in rushing yards. I think he can beat up on the Bills defense. So there are some pretty good options to look for. Here's the problem though, is that once you get past that $5,700 price tag, there's not really much going on of anyone you would want to play. Like Jaylen Warren ends up becoming the best value. Don't necessarily love Warren against the Seahawks. He's $5,400. If you buy into Coach Speak, Henderson is going to play a lot more than Ramondre this week against the Dolphins. That would be good news, but he could be lying and you end up with like 6 touches out of the backfield for $5,500. Samson, want to talk to Samson, would be the lowest I would go, but that would be only in game stacks with Lamar coming back the other way if you needed savings at running back for $5,200. Like with the way that you would have to kind of put that out, you got a lot of Lamar, you got a lot of Zay Flowers. Maybe you probably wouldn't throw in Andrews of that. You probably use Fannin as a bring back and Samson as a bring back. And then you can still use CeeDee Lamb or Christian McCaffrey or whoever you wanted to use in that spot if we're thinking about it. At receiver, and with Jamar Chase, and then it's kind of everything else. You'll see Chase, Puka, Higgins, Zay Flowers, CeeDee Lamb as your top 5. You'll get a little bit of Brian Thomas. Then you got all of the cheaper Chiefs receivers seemingly working their way into that mix as well. Tate McMillan in the spot at $5,400 is a pretty good one. When we were going through it, the low $6,000 areas where we were landing a lot for potentially 2 wide receiver spots. I like Cortland Sutton here, Zay Flowers, and T. Higgins, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. If you can use 2 of those guys, although they rate out pretty well in terms of ownership, you see 9%, 14, 15, 12. Just not a lot of people are going to pair either of them together. It's usually one or the other. Therefore, if you play 2 of them, you have a very low owned combination depending on how everything goes. Low owned from up here, AJ Brown. No one's really going that way. Garrett Wilson. No one is really going that way. Tyreek Hill. Yeah, but he has a negative GPP value for the week. He is still a bit overpriced. Maybe you want to take that shot and hopefully you get the boom back, but he's not the Rizzler. He's not bringing the boom at any point over the past 12 months. That maybe you sit this one out, even with Christian Gonzalez out for the New England Patriots this week. Jamar Chase projects as the best value, then Neighbors, then Devonta Smith, who is slightly higher owned than A.J. Brown. But all of the Eagles look like they're going to be criminally under-owned this week. Jalen Hurts included. T. Higgins, Juju Smith-Schuster at right now, he's the one guy on the Chiefs that no one is going to. Now, this will update again later on Sunday morning and Saturday evening once we get the official Saturday practice reports in. If Xavier Worthy is officially declared out, and he's probably not going to play, I do think that Juju gets a bit of a spike. But if we're thinking low-owned DraftKings wide receivers, Juju, Cedric Tillman are absolutely my favorite. Tillman way more than anyone else. I just love Tillman overall. I think when we look at the end of the year, he's going to be a top 15 receiver as long as Joe Flacco is playing quarterback at $4,300. I like him better than Fannin. I like him better than Dylan Sampson. If there is a cheap Brown 2 player or just a cheap one-off that you can have this week, Cedric Tillman would be my preference in this spot. Roma Dunze at 48, cheaper receivers. I know that Eric really liked Troy Franklin this week. I didn't really see what his projections were going to be. Let's see. Troy Franklin against the Colts, $3,700, a positive GPP value, very low owned. It's a decent spot for me. I would prefer to spend the extra money on Tillman, but we did see Franklin running a lot of those Valet routes. Valet now obviously in New Orleans, not in Denver anymore. So maybe you just kind of bank on a rebound week. You go Nix, you go Sutton, you go Franklin, and find someone else, maybe even Tyler Warren on the comeback the other way for the Colts. It's a very low-owned game stack. It's indoors. Obviously, both defenses look pretty good, and that's frightening, but it's week 1. Now, we do have a history of Denver's defense being really good. Maybe they just make Daniel Jones look awful, but maybe they figured something out in this Steichen offense with Daniel Jones that maybe betting on some of these bad spots in week 2 where everyone has just convinced themselves it's going to be one way. As Marlowe said in The Wire, you want it to be one way, but it's the other way. That can most definitely be the case in week number 2. At tight end, it's going to be McBride, Fannin, Kelsey are your top 3 in terms of ownership. Don't see that changing all that much. Goddard was projected for a bunch. And again, this is going to update on Saturday evening. Calcaterra could step into that spot. There's a lot of really low-owned options this week that are going to present some really good value at the position. We're seeing, let's see, it's not sober. That's not where we're looking. Let's see. McBride is the best. Kelsey, second. Fannin. Brenton Strange at $3,600 gives you pretty good access. Not a ton of ownership here because of some of those other options. I like Strange a lot here. I like Juwan Johnson. I like Strange better. You'll see him higher in my rankings list available in the description right now for free. Same price. I like Strange better in that spot. I don't love Kincaid. You can see you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tight ends on the main slate this week that actually have positive GPP value. When we're thinking about points per dollar, you got Fannin. Calcaterra is going to be up there, but even at $2,500, the Stoneman, and I know that people are going to end up using him because he is so cheap, I would still stay away. It just never works out with Calcaterra. There'll be like 2 catches for 40 yards, and it's just not going to get you there. As a part of a stack of that game, if you want to jam in Hurts, Devonta Smith, and then have like more to go spend up at some of the chalkier positions, I can most definitely get behind that. And that's a way to utilize him. It's not for me. That's not the spot that I want to go. Obviously, Michael Mayer is not on this slate. We don't know who is going to be between Tongs and Farrell. You see Tongs projected 0.6. Farrell is going to be projected points 3.9, but it's not like he's going to be involved. We do not know how that split is going to go for sure. I would rather just stay away from that situation if I had to, which because it's daily fantasy, I actually don't have to play anyone. I don't want to, and neither do you. Smash the like, sub to the channel. If you have any questions about the weekend, please dump them down into the comment section. I'm going to get to them on Saturday evening, then again on Sunday morning before 10 a.m. Eastern time. If you're looking to check back, you need something to bounce it off with, I'll be active in that comment section. I'm going to try to do that all year long. So please, you smash the like, you sub to the channel, you leave your question, and boom, we are off to the races. Thank you for tuning in. Sub to the audio podcast as well. Leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple. That greatly helps out the show. And if you are a sub, you can be in our chat on Sunday evening as we ramp up for Sunday Night Football. Me, Cust, and Paul Shag in studio. You know, it's Bills Jets. We had to bring in Paul Shag for this one to break it all down. We'll be recapping the week quickly, and then we're going to do some picks for Sunday Night Football, and then guess the spreads for week number 3. All right, we hope to see you there. You have a great weekend. I hope it's wildly successful, and I will see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!